Hello, Polytopians. Thanks as always for tuning in to the Polytopian Times. I'm your host, Sam, and today we're checking out a multiplayer replay, random game, me versus an Imperious player, a random guy online, who was trying out a night rush strategy. And of course, I'm over here playing Cymantes. Let's see how this one shook out. Now, I had a basic start, just trying to shift my shaman out of the way so I can get a warrior going and get that guy boosted and ready to run out. A pretty simple expansionist and economic start. Meanwhile, our Imperious fellow here has gone with a standard exploration with his warrior, and he's got himself a rider ready to run out this way. So, waiting to see how that's going to pan off for him. Meanwhile, I am rushing my boosted warriors out so I can start claiming villages too. Looks like we're going to be claiming villages at a similar rate. He's exclusively investing in riders, and I am, of course, moving out with my shaman and my warriors. So yes, we are in a great race as far as expansion goes. And I got a nice line up there with my third village and my shaman. And I'm lining up to get an explorer out so I can see some more of the map. Meanwhile, our Imperious player is also expanding out to their fourth village. So there's my explorer, and here I am finally aware that I am playing against an Imperious player, and I get some valuable information as well as some stars there, which I use to get riding and climbing. Now, I wanted climbing because I wanted these ruins, and I wanted riding because, well, hexapods are just so good. Meanwhile, our Imperious player is focusing solely on workshop, and they are getting ready to get themselves some knights out. So as we can see, they have free spirit, and they're now chopping down every free forest in their lands to give them that extra star rush, so they can get knights out a little faster. Meanwhile, I am busy just trying to expand and reveal as much of the map as possible, forward settle them, and just sort of set myself up to a point where I can start spamming out the horde for an invasion. Now we can see they've got their first knights out ready to go. Unfortunately, they aren't aware of where I am yet, so without having made contact with me, in fact, I'm not 100% sure. Let's see, they just know that I'm a Cymantes player. We can see two Cymantes tiles, one free village is one of them, but no contact made with me yet. Now, we can see this knight and warrior combo here in the south are probably intended to be a bit of a 1-2 punch when they do finally make contact with me, but overall, a little risky to make a knight just to send him out to explore, and I'm not sure that that would always be the best play that you could be making here. However, things haven't necessarily turned around on them yet. They are at 11 stars per turn right now, with workshop in every village, and they certainly do have a solid enough form of expansion, and at the end of this turn, we're looking at 13 stars per turn. Now, mind you, I have 11 stars as well. 12 now. I'm also building up and trying to rush out a centipede as quickly as I can. Meanwhile, I've been a little bit luckier with my expansion prospects. I got quite a few villages that turn, and I'm able to level up a good amount of them to increase my stars per turn. You see, at the end of this turn, I'm making, I believe, 19 or 20 stars per turn, which is definitely a solid little margin above my opponent here, who's at 13 stars per turn. Especially since their goal is to try and rush out as many knights as possible, and you can see they've now got 3 knights in total. Now, you'd think here, you'd want to use an explorer again, but they've, alas, gone for their workshop for the umpteenth time, so I've taken that opportunity to rush out my hexapod and smack their knight before he can even use it. Now, I just want to damage that those 10 stars before they get a chance to serve their deadly purpose. And I've also got my first centipede out, which is looking good. So centipedes combined with some hexapods can really do some damage to an opponent. Now we can see our random player here has gone ahead and already gotten roads and is now aware of, not just who I am, but where I am. So now they're on the offense against my newest settlements. So, of course, I am here just causing some havoc and some damage, trying to get as much done to these knights as I can before it's too late, before they get a chance to counterattack me. And, of course, I am constantly trying to build up my eco. I did wipe out that rider up there in an effort to stave off that northern village and cut my opponent off from being able to do so, and I've rushed out swords as my counter to knights. They're a beefy melee unit, and they're a strong thing that Cymantia has to throw out. Mind you, this Night Rush is able to break through, but this is kind of the only point of success that this poor player ran into. From here on out, things are on the downswing. So I'm able to get that centipede up. CC is not looking great, but I've got some forces in the area, and this centipede's actually in range to attack and take over CC too, although it could be used against New Race. I'm also holding off this northern area, about to claim the last 2 free villages over there, and I have easier access to the last free village in the south, and in the very westernmost area too. So at this point we are reaching the mid to late game, since there are no free villages left and we've got knights already out. And unfortunately, I believe our Imperious player has fallen behind in terms of eco due to their focus on trying to rush out knights, whereas I am at 24 stars per turn already, and I've got some strong units ready to go out and create some problems for him. So let's see how does taking CC ultimately work out for our rando. Spoiler alert, it's not that great. So the rest of this turn is fairly simple, just leveling up and making some more military units. Meanwhile, our rando is getting defenders because they've realized they have to sort of turtle up a little bit. Their Night Rush didn't pan out the way they'd wanted to, and they don't quite know yet how bad it's going to go. So I was able to line up a quick retake of the city with my swordsman and my hexapod. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get into New Race, but I did want to damage them at least. Just get a little bit of damage done with my boosted centipede and make sure that they were on a hair's edge, feeling the pressure on them, especially as I continue to ramp in and close down more of these free villages. I'm also getting that last explorer off because I don't want to wind up inadvertently giving them a workshop and better eco further down the road. As usual, we've got just the build-up on the economy in the background. At this stage, I'm already at 34 stars per turn, farming out plenty of centipedes, and I have the capability to throw out sword and hexapod spam at will. Meanwhile, my opponent only has 19 stars per turn and is blowing basically all of that every turn on knights. Which, I mean, they did give him a city, but unfortunately it's not enough to keep said city. And in fact, on this turn, we can see very clearly now that they are in some dire straits. I've been able to turn the tide and take over New Rays. I'm also readying up an assault on Moose-Ray, and I've retaken CC. So the only gains that my opponent did manage to get are already squandered. And of course, I'm in the background continuing to build up my economy. It's already getting towards the point where I've got double his stars per turn. I'd like that to go up even higher if possible. Meanwhile, all those dangerous-looking knights, well, they're only dangerous if you can get them into places where they can do their damage, earn their lethal purpose. And I don't have any intention of allowing that to come to pass. In fact, this turn to wait and try and heal up all their units, all their knights and everything, was quite a mistake. And I believe was honestly the turn that player sort of resigned. I don't think they did anything with their turn and instead just ended it and then resigned, which is why we saw them sit around to do nothing. Our next turn is going to be watching the bots go at it, trying to defend against me, and unfortunately the bot is not able to reanimate the corpse of my opponent's empire well enough to drive off any sort of defense. So, of course, same as always here, we've got our rampant expansion and build-up of our economy, just trying to keep the ball rolling in that regard. Meanwhile, our opponent, who I believe is now a bot, is just rushing out with anything and everything they can get. And I'm closing the noose at this point. They don't really have much eco, much strength left than building some warriors and some defenders. And at this point, I could afford to switch over to making some Dumux if I so chose, although with my amount of swords out on the field and defenders and some bulkier units showing up, it makes more sense to pull out Faichi, who can do a poison defense bonus and, maybe break down the defenders before I need to worry about them too much. Mind you, that sneaky rush with my boosted centipede was more than enough to take over the capital Topeka. So, in essence, the game is now at this point done. They could try and rush and counter with both of their knights and maybe a warrior that they have in range, but ultimately there's not a lot they can do. I'm already at 55 stars per turn versus their 9 stars per turn, so at this stage, defense just really isn't all that feasible. And of course, they made a mistake not directing both of their knights to try and retake their capital. As smart as the bots have gotten, they really haven't gone to the next level yet, and you can see that here in these final plays, right before the noose closes in. And here we are on the last turn, where we do effectively win. The capital is mine, and they have effectively lost the game, and now it's just mop-up. I want to see if I can grab as many of these remaining free cities as possible. And there you can see what I was planning with my Vici originally, just softening them up so my swords can carve through and take over some of these free territories. And as usual, the end of the game, exodus of the units that would like to try and get one last turn killing, and at least I can see, in essence, the entire map now. So there we go. There's a nice, fun, random multiplayer game that was, I thought, rather enjoyable back in the old meta, and they tried their Night Rush on me. Unfortunately, the Free Spirit Chop Night Rush strat didn't work out, as I was well aware of it in advance and was able to counter as a result. And you can see the bloody result of that counter before you. Thanks as always for tuning in, Polytopians, and until next time, see ya.